All right, thank you very much for your patience. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for taking your time to log in and join us. To our dear colleagues in the aviation industry and beyond, to members of GATCA and other professional associations and unions, retired air traffic controllers, distinguished personalities, and aviation enthusiasts, a very warm welcome, Akwaba. My name is Alisa Kalmoni. I'm an air traffic controller with the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority and the moderator for the program this morning. Today marks a very special occasion. It is the official launch of the GATCA Technical Webinar Series. Now, the GATCA stands for the Ghana Air Traffic Controllers Association. And the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority has innovation as one of its main has innovation as one of its main corporate values. Now, the technical webinar series is a GATCA initiative, which is innovative. It started off as an idea and progressed into a vision, which is being realized today. The purpose of this technical webinar series is to provide a platform for everyone to discuss technical aviation issues in the industry, not just limited to air traffic controllers as we can see today, but extended to other aviation professionals and experts to come forward, dialogue, and share their knowledge and experience with us. Now, this is all in line with a learning culture, with information sharing and safety promotion, which is one of the pillars of the safety management system. The topic for today is safety management in aviation. It's a broad umbrella topic, and so the subtopic which we'll be concentrating on is a positive safety culture. What is it? How do we get it? How does it affect us? We'll be finding out a bit later on. Now, the duration of the program is expected to be 1 hour, 30 minutes. We'd really like to stick to time. I would very respectfully appeal to all the speakers, including myself, to please stick to the allocated time to enable us achieve our objective. Right, now, before we start, we're also transmitting live on Facebook. And so, yeah, you can watch this webinar from there as well. Before we start, just a few protocols that I'd like to go through. If I can urge everyone to use the chat box at your bottom of your screen and send through all your questions and your comments. And we'll have a chance to go through some of them during the Q&A session right at the end. Please take note that we will not be making use of the raise hand feature today, and that's purely because of time constraints. So please send through your comments and your questions via the chat box, and we will take a look at them. And let me apologize in advance as well that we wouldn't have the chance to go through all the questions during today's sessions, but your participation is very important to us. And lastly, please send through feedback about the program to info@gatka.org. The email address is info@gatka, Golf Hotel Alpha Tango Charlie Alpha.com. We would love to hear from you, and that's for the review and for continuous improvement. Right, so with the protocols set, we can begin. We've got an action-packed program for us this morning, very exciting. And I would like to call on a colleague who's a fellow air traffic controller to do us the honors and do the opening prayer. Mr. Wilhelm Nyako, the floor is yours. Thank you. We're just unmuting you. Mr. Wilhelm Nyaku, are you around?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Please go ahead with the opening prayer.
Okay, shall we pray? Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for the opportunity to have and participate in this webinar series. We are grateful to you for the opportunity. We ask that you will take full control, let your will be done. May it be a fruitful discussion, and at the end of the day, may we all learn to your glory. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. So on that note, the program is officially opened. Now, we would like to have one of our distinguished personalities do his opening address, and he's an air traffic controller with 20 years experience in the field. He is currently the president of our professional association, GATCA, Ghana Air Traffic Controllers Association, and he is in the person of Mr. Francis Ama Mensah. You're welcome. The floor is yours, Francis.
Thank you, Alisa, and good morning to everyone, fellow Ghana traffic controllers, and everyone. And as she rightly said, today marks a very important day in the life of Ghana Traffic Controllers Association. Knowledge is power, as we always say. And, it's always good to share information. So we put our heads together and decided to share information through this webinar. And in that, our technical team brought up this webinar series. That is technical webinar series, in short, Tango with PCR, which is going to run quarterly. Every quarter, we're going to have one, and a very important topic in the aviation industry to talk about. And for today, we're going to have something special, opening up with safety management in aviation, as the moderator rightly said. It's a broad topic, and we're going to have a portion of it today, next quarter, a portion of it. And it's our hope that through you going to share this information to each and every aviation expert or an aviator in the industry, in Ghana, across the globe. We're in a global village and want to share experience and also exchange experience from other side as well. We'll be inviting other speakers from across the globe, and we're going to have a fruitful discussion. So on behalf of my executives and members of Ghana Traffic Control, I say, stay tuned. We're going to have a very fruitful discussion, and I wish everyone the best through our discussion. Thank you very much. Over to you, Alisa.
All right, Francis, thank you very much for that welcome. Really appreciate hearing from you. And moving on now to the next personality. We're going to have an address from him. He's got over 30 years experience as an air traffic controller in the industry. He was a former watch manager, and he is the current airspace manager of the Accra FIR. He's also the current acting director for air traffic services. My boss, Mr. Kofi Boji. You're welcome, sir. The floor is yours. Can you hear me?
Hello, Alisa. Hello.
Yes, you're welcome, sir. The floor is yours. I can hear you.
Right. Thank you so much. And good morning, all, and welcome to our first series of the technical webinar. Let me also take this opportunity to thank all top management staff who are with us on this maiden webinar. I must congratulate GATA for this bold initiative. This is the way forward in what we are calling now a new normal. Like we all know, aviation is a very dynamic field. Things keep changing like the way we blink our eyes. Someone jokingly said the people at the Air Navigation Commission always want to be felt. They want to be known to be working. So every day when they go, they want to change something. We therefore need to do a lot of catch up to be abreast with the times. And that's why these webinar programs are very, very necessary for us. I want to reiterate that let us not see this as an ATC something, but rather a program for the whole aviation fraternity. This is a maiden one, and there'll be much more webinars for the AIS to deal with things to do with AIS, engineering, and all other facets of the organization. Let us therefore embrace this series and fully participate so that at the end of it, we will all have something to take home by way of knowledge. For they say, knowledge once acquired is a property forever. Let me also use this opportunity again to thank all who have logged in. This is going to be an interactive program, so listen out. Where there are gray areas, you have the opportunity to ask questions. So at the end of the day, we equip ourselves to move the organization forward. I thank you so much, and I wish you all a fruitful discussion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kofi Koji, for your opening address. It's always great to know that we have management's support, especially when you're starting off with something new. It is very motivational, so thank you. Moving along now to an exciting part of our program, which is the actual launch of this technical webinar series. Let me say that going forward, it's going to be a quarterly series. And I have the pleasure and the honor of inviting one of our dignified personalities this morning, and he's a former aviation safety inspector. He was also formerly the manager of the personnel licensing department with the safety regulations department in the Civil Aviation Authority. He was also the former director of safety regulations, and he is currently our acting, sorry about that. He's actually the director, the Deputy Director General Technical for the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, my big boss, Mr. Daniel Akwa. You're welcome, sir. Are you on? Mr. Daniel Akwa, are you on? Hello, Mr. Akwa. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello,
I can hear you.
Yes.
I can hear you. Do you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. You're very welcome. And please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you. And thank you for your kind words.
Welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir.
Okay. Acting Director, Air Traffic.
Sorry, Mr. Akwa. Sorry, Mr. Akwa. Can I please request that you start your video?
Okay. Can you see me now?
Yes, I can see you. Yes, wonderful. Yes, you can go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. I'm in a meeting at the Parliament House and the meeting is ongoing, but I just have to step out.
That's
Okay.
great.
All right. So the Acting Director, Air Traffic Services, executive members of the Ghana Air Traffic Control Association, that's GATCA, distinguished members of GATCA, other staff of DCA participating, members of the aviation fraternity, and aviation enthusiasts near and far. Good morning. It is my singular honor to be part of this maiden program, and in particular, to launch the Ghana Air Traffic Controllers Association technical webinar series. Ladies and gentlemen, this day an event has been made possible due to the initiative and hard work of GATCA executives and members, and there is a need for members to be commended for taking this stride, this positive stride. which I believe other association members may have to emulate. Fellow aviation enthusiasts, before I continue, kindly allow me to bother you a bit with some aviation history. The quest for man to fly in the skies like a bird, I have learned that this dates as far as 428 BC. Ever since this period, man has been doing all he can to fly, or at least lift off the ground. This process has gone through various stages, man trying to invent so many other things that could help him to fly. Once we were told of a story that is from aviation history, that someone tried to fix some wings of a bird to the body with wax and managed to fly. He went very high, and then the sun's heat and rays melted the wax, and this fellow fell off the ground and died. Others also stood on cliffs, high-rise structures, tried to jump and flap their hands like wings, and they all did not succeed. But man did not give up. Man also tried to invent a kite, trying to fly a kite, at least lifting something off the ground. But man himself was still on ground. And this evolution continued until in the 18th century, man was able to invent the hot air balloon. And then it followed with the airship. And finally, on 17 December 1903, the Wright brothers were able to invent an aeroplane, which was a manned and powered flight. And from that day onwards, we've had several inventions, several types of aeroplanes and other aircraft in general. Now we've had these flying machines crisscrossing our skies in numerous quantities. And man, as usual, would not just sit down for disasters to be happening, and therefore had to devise a means through other forms of technology that the sky must be managed. And to date, we have air traffic management. Man continues to travel on this global village, and the act of flying or traveling by air has been pronounced the safest and the fastest, which is linking people together. It is also creating a lot of jobs for millions of people to put food on the table. It is creating businesses, and even governments are able to tax airlines and other aviation entities to make enough money to take care of events or issues in various states. But then it is still very necessary to ensure that these numerous machines flying across are managed, the traffic is well managed, in order for us to benefit from air travel. Now, a lot of things have happened, since then, and we know that for air travel to be safe, there's a lot of training, a lot of knowledge and learning that should be imparted, a lot of initiatives that mankind needs to do in order to keep the airways very safe, and for people to have that trust in flying or traveling around the globe. Conventionally, this has been done through various training organizations, but thanks be to technology that now we have webinars that you don't need to be physically present. The Ghana Air Traffic Controllers Association have done well to tap into this innovation and trying to share knowledge through this media. We are very grateful to them. And once again, I do commend them and the other technical team who are not air traffic controllers or are not seasoned aviators. But then, doing this, we'll be sharing knowledge, as other speakers have mentioned. Some are not even yet in the industry, but if they're given the opportunity to also assess the technical webinar series, we'll all be on the same page and we'll appreciate one another. We know that the aviation industry is very wide with diverse professions or diverse areas. But then, if this series should continue, all will be on the same page. We'll be sharing technology, we'll be sharing ideas, we'll be sharing knowledge. People who are not controllers will learn about controllers. Other times when there are other topics being discussed or lectures, controllers will also learn what their counterparts also do or contribute in the industry. We have safety, we have security, we have air traffic management, we have aeronautical information management, and so on and so forth. So at this juncture, I will say that we thank you all once again for putting all these things together for all of us to benefit. I know that our primary speaker is very ready now to take the floor. So in order not to pour some kind of ice or cold water to take out the vim from him, I'll say that we need to give the resource person the chance as early as possible for him to share his ideas with us. So at this juncture, I gladly declare the GATCA Technical Webinar Series duly launched. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Akpa, for that and for expressing your commitment towards this program. We thank you also for taking time out of your busy schedule and also for giving us the history insights, because it's always good to know where we're coming from and where we are to be able to assess our performance going forward. So we truly appreciate you being here, and we'll call on you again towards the end to give us the closing remarks. Thank you very much, sir. I'd like to say again to all our viewers, thank you very much for being here with us and there for a moment, but we are back on track. And now for the main business of today's webinar, I would like to invite our resource person, who is also an air traffic controller by profession, and he's got over 25 years experience in the industry. He was a former watch manager. He is currently the SSQA manager, which stands for the Safety Standards and Quality Assurance of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. My boss, it is my pleasure to welcome Mr. William Amwakong. You're welcome, sir. Can you hear me?
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator.
Great.
And I'm very privileged to be the resource person for the maiden edition of GATCA Technical Webinar Series. As we all know, we're going to talk about safety management in aviation. And as has been indicated, this is a broad topic. So we'll zero down on safety culture and look at its implication and its effects on the safety management system. But briefly, we'll describe a safety management system and link it with safety culture. So before we do that, I want to share with you some few quotes from some prominent personalities. Marcus Cicero is a renowned Roman statesman, a lawyer, a philosopher, scholar, and academic skeptic. He wrote that safety of the people shall be the highest law. Safety of the people shall be the highest law. Another speaker, or one of the main, excuse me, just let me enlight the screen.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Marco. Thank you.
So that it can be seen well. Good, that's fine.
Yes, it's fine now. Thank you.
Good, thank you very much. So another renowned university professor, a special teacher in the US by name Torrey Hayden. He said that safety is the most basic task of all. Without sense of safety, no growth can take place. Without safety, all energy goes to defense. So these are two prominent quotes that we want to use to kickstart our discussions for today. The outline for our presentation, we're going to look at the overview, just consider some few concepts of safety, one or two definitions. We go through the main pillars of the SMS, the 4 pillars. We look at some few things, appointment and responsibilities of key personnel. Then we zero down on our main agenda for today, that's the safety culture. And under safety culture, we're going to look at the types of culture that we have. One of the cultures will be organizational culture. We're going to treat organizational culture and how to improve our organizational culture. Then we also have to look at positive safety culture. So why do we always want to talk about safety? It goes back way to Chicago Convention, and even before then, like our Deputy Director General Technical was saying, flight started somewhere in 428 BC, and in most occasions, safety has been part of it. So when you take Chicago Convention Article 44, it talks about to ensure the safe and orderly growth of civil aviation throughout the world. So you see the word safe there every time. Meet the needs of the people of the world for safe, regular, efficient, and economical air transport. Promote safety of flight in international air navigation. And one thing you must know that in all this, safety is the first word. Also, when we look at the vision statement contained in the global ATM operational concept, it says that it's to achieve an interoperable global air traffic management system for all users during all phases of flight that meets agreed level of safety, provide for optimum economic operation that is environmentally sustainable and meet all national security requirements. So here too, if you take notes, the first thing that they talk about is safety. So safety is paramount in aviation industry, and not only in aviation, in most industry. To the extent that When you take all the annexes, they all talk about safety, but IQ has deemed it necessary and because of the importance of safety in aviation, it needed a separate annex to deal with it. So they went through the process, and we now have an S19 safety management annex. So these are just the overview of how safety is and some concepts. Let's consider a few things. We all know that in any system, it's difficult to eliminate. I mean, all the hazards and the risk. So we are saying that total elimination of accidents and serious incidents is unachievable. And in any system, failures will occur despite the most accomplished prevention efforts. Once we are all human beings, no human activity or human-made system can be guaranteed to be absolutely free from hazard and operational error. So in effect, risk needs to be controlled. Errors needs to be controlled to an acceptable level, and that is what we all strive to do. In all aspects of operation, including safety, we must consider human performance in the context of the total system of which the person or people are. So here we say, for every accident to occur, for every incident or accident must be considered as a failure of the system, not as a failure of the person or persons. So we talk of systemic failures. And of course, there are always subsystems in the systems that we're talking about. Let's try to define the safety. Is it safe to big jets crashing on the ground? Take a look at this picture. The mechanic is under it, and he thinks this is very safe. So is it safe? How do we perceive safety? Others say that it's zero accident or serious incidents, and that is a view being held by majority of the populace. Others see safety as freedom from hazards. Others see that attitude towards unsafe acts and conditions by employees of aviation organization, error avoidance, regulatory compliance. And to talk about regulatory compliance, an American writer and producer, TV producer in Hollywood made a statement that the rare enemy of safety is not non-compliance, but non-thinking. So if we refuse to think, that becomes an enemy of safety. So we need to think safety in all our endeavors. Now, let's look at the actual definition of safety from the safety manual. That's the document 9859. It says safety is a state in which the risk of harm to persons or property damage is reduced to and maintained at or below an acceptable level through a continual process of hazard identification and risk management. And this is one of the major pillars of the SMS. Hazard identification and the management of risk. Unfortunately, we'll not go into details of that. It's a whole topic by itself, but that is the major pillar of the SMS. And S19, which is a safety management manual, safety management annex, says that is the state in which risks associated with aviation activities related to or in direct support of the operations of aircraft are reduced and controlled to an acceptable level. So these are the few definitions that they have for safety. Other definitions include safety management, which is a systemic management of all risks associated with ATM or other aviation activities to achieve high level of safety performance. Then the safety management itself, the document 9859, defines safety management as a systematic approach to managing safety, including the necessary organizational structures, accountabilities, policies, and procedures. So why do we even have to consider or have to go into SMS? There were a series of safety programs that were being run. But as we know, the global aviation activities and complexity continues to grow. And we realize that traditional method for managing this safety risk became less effective. It was based on compliance, outcome oriented. And for that matter, we needed to look beyond that and go into safety management system where all these safety programs are brought under one roof with the management and the responsibilities and the accountabilities aspect of it. This is how Transport Canada defines safety management. They say it's a safety management system is a business-like approach to safety. It is a systematic, explicit, and comprehensive process for managing safety risk, as well as with all management system, a safety management system provides for a goal setting, planning, and measuring performance. Safety management system is woven into the fabric of an organization, and that's why we say it becomes part of the organization. It becomes part of the culture. It becomes the way of life of the people, the way they do their work. So introducing SMS, we will not go into details. We just touch on the 4 pillars. And the first one is safety policy and objective. Safety risk management, that is the core of it. Safety assurance and safety promotion. The safety objectives are there, management commitment, you have to set accountabilities, compliance with international obligation, appointment of key personnel, coordination of emergency response plan, then the SMS documentation. These are the key ones under the policy. Then these are some of the few people that needs to be appointed with responsibilities. The accountable manager, which is always the chief executive officer of the company. Top management plays a vital role. We have a safety review board that review all the safety issues at the highest level. The safety manager, line management, safety action group, safety personnel and safety committee, as well as every other employee. These are the structures and those who makes safety management system work. It means it includes everybody. How did we got here? Evolution of safety has gone through. We have gone through a series of evolution, and in the 50s, we were looking at only technical factors, where aircraft, if there's a problem, we fix it, we fly. We look at only the technical aspect of it. It's a machine, it has broken down, so we fix it and we go back without looking at the other aspects, the organizational and the human aspects. As time moves on, we realize that human plays a vital role in all the systems. So we begin to look into the human aspect of it, and that's where human factors became prominent. Then we also realize that organization plays a vital role in safety, because the organizational culture and the way the organization behaves, management and the staff themselves plays a vital role. So we went through this thing, and James Raisin has put this in as part of his write-up. So we are looking at organizational era as we are now, and is the era from 1990 to present, where we are looking at we are taking into consideration the impact of organizational culture and policies on the effectiveness of safety risk control. Here we say everybody is accountable, and that's what we mean by positive safety culture. It's a new approach of using both reactive, proactive, and predictive processes to monitor known safety risks. So that is where it came by the SMS. So far, so good. That's a brief about the SMS. Now let's talk about safety culture. We term it as positive safety culture. Safety culture was first mentioned, or it was first used in the initial report published by the International Atomic Energy Agency way back in 1986. They identified the organization, they identified in their report organizational and management failure that contributed to the Chernobyl disaster in around that time. And also in 1993, they published a report where they actually defined safety culture. Their definition for safety culture was safety culture of an organization is the product of individuals and group values, attitude, perception, competencies, and patterns of behavior that determine the commitment to and the style and proficiency of an organization's health and safety management. So we say, what is culture? Webster Dictionary define culture as the ideas, customs, skills, acts, etc. of a given people in a given period. Word says that all the knowledge and values shared by a society. Cultural factors. We are saying that cultural factors influences the values, belief, and behavior that we share with other members of our various social groups. It serves to bind us together as members of the group and provide clues as to how to behave in both normal and unusual situations. So others also see culture as a collective programming of the mind. And this is where a change comes in, collective programming of the mind. Culture is the complex social dynamic that sets the rules of the game or the framework for all our interpersonal interactions. It is the sum total of the way people conduct their affairs in a particular social environment. When it comes to safety, or you take the Safety Management Manual, that's document 9859. It also says that culture provides the context in which things happen. For safety management, understanding this context is an important determinant of human performance and its limitations. So once you know the culture of a particular person, a particular society, it will have influence on how the person performs. We'll get into details when we go to the other cultures. Here we are going to look at 3 types of cultures. First, the national culture. Then we are looking at the organizational culture and also professional culture. We will dwell very much on the organizational culture, but we want to see what do we mean by national culture. So for instance, what is the culture of Ghana as compared to Nigeria, as compared to America, as compared to any other state? You all agree with me that in most cases, we behave differently when it comes to certain things. For instance, when we say response to authority, how do we view a country, country by country? For instance, when in America, everybody respects authority, but the way they deal with authority is way different from maybe how we will deal with authority here. Here, when your superior talks, you don't talk back, whether he's wrong or right. That is the culture we have adopted or we were born with. But in America or some other places, your son or the smallest child can put you right when you are wrong, and they don't see anything wrong with it. Here, when you are trying to correct a big man, if you are not careful, you'll be in trouble. So that is the culture response to authority. How do we deal with uncertainty? How we express our individuality? A Nigerian will not mince words, but the Ghanaian is we're a little bit timid when it comes to certain things. Group commitment or teamwork. How do we work as a team? When you go to certain countries, North Korea and co, that is where you see rare teamwork. Acceptance of unequal status. Do you accept that you are poor, so you need to be poor forever? Do you accept that this is your, level? And for that matter, you don't need to go up. We all know the caste system in India and other places. But in most places, you don't see this, and especially in Ghana. Even though you may come from a poor village, you still want to strive to achieve the highest level, to even be the president of Ghana. So other things we're looking at is difference to leaders, willingness of individuals to question decisions. That is one problem with us. How do we question decisions? Now we see a whole lot of uprising, fix the country. Gone were the days people were so quiet, you cannot ask people to, leaders to do certain things. But now we are changing. So our willingness to question, certain decisions are coming up. And in other places, you dare not. China, North Korea, even in Russia, you don't have to question authorities, a decision that has come. And fortunately or unfortunately, things are gradually changing. In China, there are a lot of uprising, in Russia, a lot of uprising going on there, even though in North Korea, you can't do anything about it for now. And we are saying that mixed cultures can at times create misunderstanding. Professional culture. Yeah, just like we have a GATCA, a group of air traffic controllers. We have engineers, a group of engineers, other professions. These, the culture that we find ourselves in, they are created through personal selection, education, and training. These professionals tend to adopt the values and behavior pattern of their peers. The moment you enter into the air traffic control profession, you begin to think like them, you begin to act like them, and at the end of it all, if you are not careful, you become anti-social, because once they enter the control room, all they know is work and go and sleep. And at times it affects even the family and everything. In any profession, we share pride and motivation. And in certain cases, we even work and behave alike. Now, organizational values, the organizational culture. We are looking at organizational values, belief, legend, rituals, mission, goals, and the rest. When you are talking of organizational culture, you are looking at three aspects of it. It consists of psychological, that's how we think, and also how we act, that's the behavioral, and other organizational elements. In organization, especially when we look at government organization as opposed to private organizations, how do they function? We all know this is Abaya Juma, it's for government. So we behave in a way when you are in a private sector where the private man will demand accountability and put pressure on you, we behave differently. Sense of belonging. What is your sense of belonging when you belong to an organization? Do you easily, does the organization actually appeal to you? Do you recognize yourself with the organization? Okay, so we are also looking at how the organization recognizes merits. how the organization promotes individual initiatives. In certain organizations, especially when you come in fresh, here we don't tolerate people with least knowledge. We will not even permit you to come out with maybe a brilliant idea that you have. In other organizations, whether you are the messenger or you are the who, your views are taken into consideration. It's actually sought after, and see if we can get something better from it, meet a need, and use it to the benefit of the organization. Do we encourage risk-taking? How do we tolerate breaches of SOPs? Oh, once they breach it, non-compliance, the regulator says this, oh, but we can just, after all, we are in the same organization, so we can just ignore it. Is that the culture that we have? Do we promote open two-way communication? So an organizational culture is a major determinant of employee behavior. When employees come in, they look at the culture that is existing and they adapt. That is why when you go into a company and the company is hard-working company, you adapt. If it's a lousy company, within some short time, whether you were disciplined or not, you become one of them. So organizational culture is very, very, very important, and we must have to find a better way to deal with it. How does juniors relate to their seniors? How is information shared? How does personnel react under stress? Do we embrace technologies? Authority will be, how authority will be acted upon? How do we react to human errors? Procedures. How are procedures developed? Documentation. In GC, until recently, documentation was one of our major problems. Training is delivered. How training is delivered? Is it casually? Or we have adequate training, work assignment, and how work assignments are made. So organizational culture is very, very key. And this organizational culture, we set the boundaries for human acceptance behavior. For accepted human behavior in the workplace by establishing the behavioral norm and limits. This is how we do things here. Now let's look at the various forms of the organizational culture. We have three of them: pathological, bureaucratic, generative. So at the end of it all, you need to determine which culture is your organization. So let's consider what is meant by pathological culture. Here we always blame game. What happened? When there's something that has happened, the first question we ask, who did it? And we start to blame the person. Here we hide information. Yeah, one person has the knowledge and he believes knowledge is power. So we don't share, we hide it. We also cover up failures. When you bring new ideas, we'll crash it. Check responsibilities, and we are scared to make decisions that can be traced back to us. We don't have an elaborate employee-employer interactions. It's just on a minor basis. Let's take a look at the bureaucratic. It's a well-structured process, little or no flexibility to get tasks done. Here, paperwork is most important, followed by meetings. Little free thinking or innovation is allowed. We have the standards, and that's how you must go by. Decisions take time to collaborate, and it can be very effective in certain settings, especially in the forces. You don't have, we have very little flexibility. So, but it works very well for them. The generative, that is where every organization is aspiring to be. Here, we actively seek information and new way of doing things to improve the organization. The shared responsibilities. We welcome new ideas and innovations. continuous evaluation of the organization health. We always want to see how the organization is, moving. So we spend time to analyze, to assess. Then there was this employee-employer interaction. It's a very good, we have a very good employee interaction. That is a summary of the various cultures, how they are. Now let's look at the positive safety culture. And because we have already looked into, we have adopted or look at culture already. So how do we see positive safety culture or the safety culture itself? There's some few definitions. Wikipedia defines safety culture. It says it's a collection of beliefs, perceptions, and values that employees share in relation to risk within an organization, such as a workplace or community. So here, your perception, your belief towards risk is very, very key. Another definition is that safety culture is defined as a way in which safety is managed in the workplace. It's a combination of beliefs, perception, and attitudes of employees towards safety of workers and the overall safety of the environment. So that is how another person's defines safety culture. A positive safety culture is a culture at the workplace, in which all employees think of safety as an important thing and behave in a way that prioritizes their own safety as well as the safety of those around them. And this includes using proper personal equipment, following the safety laws, and just generating or generally being conscious of safety and safe practices at all times. This is the way positive safety culture has been also defined. Reasons, we all know reason. We define it as an atmosphere of trust in which people are encouraged or even rewarded for providing essential safety related information, and in which they are also clear about where the lines must be drawn between acceptable and unacceptable behavior. And he went on to say that positive safety culture is based on 5 cultures, and these are reporting culture, informed culture, flexible culture, learning culture, and just culture. So we all know what informed culture is: an organization where you should be well informed. It's our desire that every member of staff is knowledgeable about the human, technical, organizational, and environmental factors that determine the safety of the system as a whole. So we are all well informed. How the organization do this inform staff is something that we need to look at, and if it's okay, fine. If not, this is where we need to improve it. Flexible culture, people can adapt to organizational processes when facing high or temporary operations or certain kinds of danger, shifting from conventional hierarchical mode to a flatter mode. How flexible are we? We should be flexible, we should not be rigid, so that when changes occur, we'll be able to conform to those changes. Reporting culture, people are prepared to report even their own errors and experiences when it's done rightly. Learning culture, we should be able to learn, and we should be able to educate ourselves. The system should be able to educate us so that we are well informed in everything. We say knowledge is power. Then the last one, which is a big one, just culture. Here we are saying that people are even encouraged or rewarded for providing essential safety related information. However, there's a clear line between that differentiates acceptable and unacceptable behavior. So we'll talk a little about this just culture later. Reporting culture says that the benefit of reporting. Civil aviation, as part of our SMS, have come out with a reporting policy. And I hope that all of you will try and maybe go through. It's very extensive. All persons here freely share critical safety information. There's no threat of punitive action. Personnel can report hazard or safety concerns as they become aware of them without fear or sanctions or any embarrassment. There's also an indemnity against or no disciplinary action, especially when the error was committed in a way that is not intentional or willful. There's confidentiality, and in most cases, we even de-identify some of their reports before sending them to the appropriate places so that no individual will be penalized. There's a separation of reporting body from disciplinary body, and the report must be very easy to make. These are the various methods that you can use: verbal, telephone, suggestion box, paper form, database, action, aviation safety action programs, meeting, and the rest. Inform culture to people understand the hazard and all those things. So these are the cultures that we are talking about. And with informed culture, how well are we informed? And this is something that we must all strive to know. As management, as supervisors, as a rank and file, what do we know? And if we want to look at the iceberg theory of ignorance, it says that the problems that are known to top management is very few, about 4%. Middle management has a little higher, about 9%. Supervisors knows almost about 45%, but the rank and file, the people below, they know all the problems. So this is where you need to get to the people below, or all the workers, interaction, get them involved in everything, and all the problems will be known. And when you are well informed of the problems, it's almost half solved. Flexible culture, how we can be flexible and adapt to organizational changes. Then this is the just culture, how to develop flexible culture. You need to develop a multi-talented workforce, especially in the smaller operations, move controls down. These are some few things that you can do to improve that culture. Learning culture, same. How do we learn? By observing, reflecting, creating, designing, and acting. So a just culture, the definition of just culture is a culture in which frontline operators or other persons are not punished for actions, omissions, or decisions taken by them that are commensurate with their experience and training, but in which gross negligence, willful violation, and destructive acts are not tolerated. So just take a critical look at the definition of just culture. Just culture is being implemented all over the world so that it will encourage reporting, because the more personnel reports, the more we are able to deal with the hazards and tackle the risks associated with them. But it is not absolute. For instance, if you intentionally commit an offense, it doesn't mean you should not be punished. So that is the difference. When it's clear violation or willful violation, then something needs to be done. It's a concept related to systems thinking, which emphasizes that mistakes are generally a product of faulty organization culture. So if you don't have a positive organizational culture, it means your just culture will not be in a good shape. Rather than solely brought about by persons or people directly involved. In a just culture, after an accident or incident, the question asks is what went wrong, not who caused the problem. So these are the differences. Negligence or deliberate violation will not be tolerated. It says even in certain circumstances, there may be the need for punitive actions, and management will define the line between acceptable and unacceptable behaviors. And it will be very good for employees to know the acceptable and unacceptable behaviors. So it's management's responsibility to make it very clear. So that is just culture. Now back to the safety culture. These are some few things that we can do to ensure that we have a positive safety culture. Leading indicators, there should be proper communication. We need to provide adequate training. And if you look at there are 4 cornerstones. One is forward-looking, accountability, discretion, good relationship. So when you have, you also provide good training, you lead by example. So in some places, they also have management culture. So what is the culture of management and how does it reflect? What examples are they setting? So all these things are very, very important, and positive reporting, just like we mentioned, as well as involving everybody in this. So in effect, this is the brief of the positive safety culture that we have talked about. Because of time, we want to make time for questions and answers. So briefly, this is a summary. We went through the types of culture, we defined culture. We went through 3 types of cultures, the types of organizational culture that we have, safety culture, and what makes it work. So here we say at the end of the day, an unknown philosopher also made this statement that the goals are very simple. It is about safety and security. So therefore, we end here and I hand over to the moderator as we go through the various questions and see how best we can answer the questions. Thank you very much, Madam Moderator.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amwakun, for that very insightful and interesting presentation. I appreciate how challenging it must have been to try and go through so many topics in such a short amount of time, but you managed to stick to it, and we appreciate that. Thank you very much. There were certain key issues that you spoke about, the safety culture, the different pillars of the safety management system, systematic failure as opposed to blaming one particular person, and of course the just culture. Find the first questions, well, 2 of them, and then we'll go to the chat box and answer one question. Mr. Mwako, are you on? Mr. Mwako, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. All right, so with safety as our topmost priority in aviation, people achieve safety. It doesn't occur on its own. Are employees aware of how they fit into the safety management system within their own organization, and that it's all inclusive and not just applicable to the technical departments and sections?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I would say yes. So far, what we've managed to do is to bring everybody on board. When we were tasked to come out with the safety management system, the SMS, including its manual and everything, the processes, we made it an organization-wide process by inviting representative from the non-technical groups. For instance, we have people from HR, from finance, from ICT, engineering, AIS, ATC. So it's an organizational wide something. Secondly, in our safety promotion, some of the safety promotion and programs that we have adopted, we have managed to ensure that we have given SMS awareness training to almost everybody in the organization. We have also ensured that the safety manual, the SMS manual, is on the website or distributed throughout the organization so that people can get access to it. So I would say that, yes, everybody is aware it's an organizational-wide program and not only restricted to the technical division. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that, Mr. Amoako. And now going into the second question, which speaks to the reporting culture still on the safety management system. When you were doing your presentation, you gave assurances for people coming in to report certain incidents that have taken place, that there would not be any action taken against them, of course, unless there was negligence once the investigation is done. So the second question basically is, how do staff members of an organization report a safety hazard or an unsafe act using the safety management system? Is it more favorable to do so as compared to verbal reporting, and why? Thank you.
Yeah, with the reporting system, we've made it so flexible. We've developed some, reporting forms. The reporting system, we have mandatory reporting and voluntary reporting, as well as confidential reporting. So with the mandatory reporting, that is mostly with the technical division, air traffic control, ATC, AIS. Forms have been dispatched to them. Some of these forms can also be gotten from various positions. How do I call it? The computers around, and you just click and you get the forms and fill. Hazard identification is one of the major ones. And during the SMS awareness training, we made it clear so everybody know what to do. And I can testify that after the awareness training, we've received numerous reports, especially hazard reports. And most of them are not even coming from the technical division. Most of them are coming from, other non-technical division, which means indirectly, to some extent, it has gone down a bit, even though we have more work to do. And like you said, it's non-punitive. The Director General has signed. The policy and everything is very clear. So once you take the manual and you read, you know that you are covered. Whatever you report, you will not be penalized. You will take it into consideration and see how best to deal with it. Thank you very much. And just to add that some of these reports, we have taken action, and it has yielded a lot of positive results. I don't want to go into details by mentioning them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Amoako, for that. I think we're all being encouraged then to use the hazard forms which are available on the portal to submit these hazard reports. And
before then, just to add, we have even developed a software. It will be rolled out very soon, where you can sit in your even in your house, where you have the internet to access these forms, fill it, and it will come directly to the SSK office. Thank you.
Thank you. That's for easy access. And just quickly on that point, once action has been taken, is there feedback given to whoever sent through the report?
Yes, normally when we receive the report, we first give feedback to the person that the report has been received and is receiving attention. So that's the first initial feedback. Unfortunately, we've not been very good at giving feedback when we finish, but the system that we are developing is going to take care of that. So whoever initiated it, you can at any time log in and see the status of the report, all the actions that has been taken. And ICT is working on it very well. Very soon, maybe at the end of this month, it will be deployed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that update. We'd like to take one question now from the chat box, and it's from Jibril Dakpo. And the question is, what is your observation of GCAA safety culture? Do you see all department sections involved, or you see that everybody thinks it's some particular department section's work?
That is a question that can be best answered by the staff of GCAA. So to take advantage and say that we are deploying, we are doing a survey. We want to know how GCAA is doing in terms of safety culture. So very soon, a survey questionnaire will be dispatched to every member. Tell us what you believe. And when we gather this thing, we'll know and work on the areas that we are lacking. Thank you.
All right, Jibril, thank you. I hope that answered your question on that. We are slowly running out of time, so very quickly, I'd like to read another question to you. In this industry, we are bound by regulatory framework according to international standards and recommended practices. There's an oversight function by the Civil Aviation Authority to ensure compliance. Our policies and procedures thoroughly stipulate what needs to be done. However, the how aspect is best achieved through training. Do you think that training, which is a very critical part of the process, is sometimes traded off and looked at as a cost instead of an investment in people? What are the effects of this?
Good. So that question can also be answered through the survey. But basically, I mean, from my point of view, I think GCA is doing well on training, but there's much room for improvement. So people need to be trained. All these things that we are discussing, if you don't train, definitely how even to understand safety culture and all the related issues, training is key. And in aviation, you don't just train once, you train and train and train. So training needs to be actually improved in the organization. That is what I would say for now.
Okay, all right, thank you. So it's a continuous improvement all around, everyone on board. I think we are just running out of time. Let's take 2 more questions, but another question now from the chat box, which says, what role does reward system play in safety management, and what are the best strategies to actualize it in an organization?
Thank you very much. In the SMS, there's a reward part of it where we have an SMS week. We undertake seminars and other activities, and at the end of it all, we crown it with a SMS awareness recognition program. Forms will be sent out for individuals to nominate people that they feel has committed to improving safety in the organization, and the authority will decide how best to reward them. So it's part of the system. It has not taken effect per se, but it's likely to start soon. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. That's something to look forward to. And finally, before we wrap up, I really do apologize to all our viewers and participants. We've run out of time, and so we're not going to be able to treat the rest of the questions, but we really do appreciate all of you participating. And there was one question about the presentation slides. People are interested. So how do they access that?
Yeah, I think we need to share it with everybody. Maybe, I don't know, give it to the organizers and for them to share. So either through email or whatever means.
And then also just additionally, if I could just ask whoever is interested in the slides to please send requests to the GATSCA email, which is info@gatska.org, and we will definitely get back to you. So that brings us to the end of the Q&A session, and all too soon to the end of the first edition of the technical webinar series. Thank you very much, Mr. Amwaku. It was very engaging. And thank you to everybody who's logged on. Is Mr. Akwa still on here? We'd like to go to him quickly just for closing remarks, and then we will end it off. Mr. Akwa, can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Akwa, can you hear me? Okay. Hello, Mr. Akwa.
I think he's on.
Yeah, he is. Hello, Mr. Akwa. Okay, he's going to set up. Okay.
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Akwa, thank you very much.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you again for
Okay.
coming to give us the closing remarks. We really appreciate your time. You can go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator. And also thank you for giving me time to move out of the hall and then set myself up. I think this meeting program has been a great success. I've particularly